Hi guys, I'm Dion, and today I'm reviewing Beauty Sickness, How the Cultural Obsession with Appearance Hurts Girls and Women by Renee Engeln. I got this book through Edelweiss in exchange for an honest review, and Beauty Sick is a non-fiction book about how the world is very obsessed with appearance, mostly in women, and how that affects them so much more than we think. The book is divided into different chapters and different parts. So the first part tells us what beauty sickness really is and what it all entails. The second part focuses on the influence of beauty sickness on women all around the world. Part 3 is how the media feeds beauty sickness. Part 4 is what we're doing about it right now, and part 5 is what we can do even better. Renee tells us beauty sickness is what happens when women's emotional energy gets so bound up with what they see in the mirror that it becomes harder for them to see other aspects of their lives. And I think that is the key point. It is not bad to want to be pretty, to want to be beautiful. It is bad if that's the main thing you want to be, that it is more important for women to be beautiful than it is for them to be kind or smart or helpful. The main point the book makes is that in the current culture we live in, beauty is seen as something essential to women, and it seems that it's more important for women to look good than to do good, and that is the switch Renee wants us to make. Appearance has always been an important factor in culture, and for instance, long ago, a curvy woman would mean fertility. So for a man seeking a life mate, that would be obviously very important, because a fertile woman can have kids and you want that, you want to survive. And yeah, so long ago it was a very important indicator for survival, really, and that is why our brains are still really set on noticing beauty and finding that important. The problem is not that we pay attention to it. We have always paid attention to it. The problem is that we have this combination of a beauty ideal that almost no one can reach, and the idea that we still have to reach it. Our brains really haven't caught up with reality, really. So this book really talks about very much aspects of it. It talks about how wearing a strapless dress can really distract you from the things happening around you, because you're constantly pulling up and pulling down, and that way you're not really noticing what's happening around you, and you can be at the greatest party, and after the party you won't remember any of it because you can just remember pulling up and down your dress all evening. It also talks about binge eating and how that is influenced by and influences beauty sickness. It talks about a lot of different cultures, for instance, culture in Asia that still has this need to have the same Western beauty ideal, which of course is ridiculous, because people in Asia are buying creams to have lighter skin and we are going sunbathing to have a tan. So we're all just trying to achieve this beauty ideal that is very much untrue, because we all know that most beauty ideals are really, you take a very skinny tall person that's already not the norm, and that person then gets airbrushed and photoshopped and good lighting and a lot of fans and very expensive clothing. So it's just too much to try to achieve, and putting the pressure and the focus on appearance instead of health is really hurting a lot, because there are actually photo shoots with models that have ribs showing that just get a little photoshopped so they look healthy again and stuff like that. So the book makes you very aware of the fact that most of the images you are looking at and most of the images you are really looking up to and wanting to be are untrue. The beauty ideal is actually unattainable. It just talks a lot about how everything has so much effect, especially on young women, young kids that are trying to just grow up, and when they hit puberty they get all these disturbing messages that, you know, don't play with the boys because you'll get dirty. You hear your mom saying what she doesn't like about her own body, and you are going to replicate that in some way. And even if your parents do great, culture is still a big part of your growing up as well, so you can't really help it, you know? Obviously, it also talks about the role of social media today and how we see these post-filtered images on Instagram of our friends, and that may seem like a very reachable, like a very attainable beauty standard, but we forget that they also have the power of makeup and putting a filter on it and focusing on the parts that look good, and maybe took the same picture 20 times before they got the one they posted. It also talks about things we can actively do to kind of diminish beauty sickness, and that of course is just focusing so much less on beauty. So go to the gym because it makes you feel good and it makes you healthy instead of it makes you drop 5 pounds. To speak up to people at the gym that try to motivate you to look great in your bikini, because you don't want to look great in your bikini, you just want to feel good in your bikini. And you're not going to feel good in your bikini if all you're thinking about is if you look good in it. It is probably better if you're not thinking about that at all and just having a great time and having an interesting conversation with someone in the water. So yeah, stuff like that. It very much focuses on the power some actions can have on young girls, especially because they are so impressionable. It also has a passage that talks about very thin women who are actually getting the backlash of beauty sickness as well, because some people will be very jealous of their figure and other people will be like, eat something, but they're not gaining weight, so they feel bad as well. Beauty sickness also makes women lose contact with their bodies, so they sometimes no longer will be able to feel when they're hungry because they're like always starving themselves. Of course, I can't cover a recap everything it says, but it's just a very interesting kind of summing up a lot of things that have effect on our beauty ideal in today's world and how it influences us, what people think does good but actually does more bad than good anyway, and just the things we have to stop doing, the things we have to realize that have a great impact. This book specifically focuses on women, but there might also be men that really go through these things, and we just have to realize that putting so much pressure on beauty is creating this image that it is more important for you to look good than to be a good human being, and that it's normal for girls to admit they won't leave the house without makeup, but that they're happy they dropped 5 pounds because they got a big flu. And that is just really unhealthy and dangerous and creates this twisted reality for a lot of women. And you can do so much less if you're also always focusing on how you look, that it actually is so much better to think about if you feel good or are good instead of if you look good. I'm sorry, I'm not really giving you the most eloquent recap of this book. I just think this is a really important topic. If I'm going to ask after my body mass index, I am going to think I have to lose 10 kilos as well. Maybe we should just talk and think about beauty a lot less. And Renee is not making a case for never wearing makeup anymore or never shaving again, or it's just making a case for being very aware of the impacts it has and why you're doing what you're doing, how much time and how much money you are spending on beauty. Just being very mindful and very aware of the impact that your actions have on the world and on other people as well. Because if you talk smack about your body, why wouldn't your daughter? Why wouldn't your friend? Why would anyone believe you when you say they're beautiful? The voice in their head will always tell them that they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough, and they'll never reach the ideal. I think you are great human beings. I think you're kind and clever and wonderful. I like you when you wear makeup. I like you when you don't. I like you because you're human and you're real. I don't want to be this plastic Hollywood image. I'd rather be what I am right now because I think it's pretty damn cool.